Mom, what the hell were you thinking? That's the first thing my son Kevin said when he yanked me away from the party doors. His grip was tight on my arm. His jaw clenched. His suit perfectly pressed like he thought he was hosting the Oscars instead of standing in his boss's living room. I pulled back. What are you talking about? He glanced around, lowering his voice but not his anger. You're late. Everyone noticed. Do you know how bad this looks for me? I blinked. I'm 10 minutes late. 10 minutes? He let out a sharp laugh. Try 45. People were asking where you were. My boss's wife came over to meet you, and you weren't even here. I had to make excuses. Do you know how humiliating that was? I tightened my purse strap, still catching my breath from the rush to get there. Kevin. No. He cut me off, pointing at me like I was a child. Do not start with excuses. You had one job. Show up on time. Smile. Be presentable. Instead, you stroll in here like nothing's wrong. I stared at him, stunned. I'm not your employee. You might as well be. He hissed. This was important. This was about connections. About my career. And you're embarrassing me. If you're watching this, subscribe and tell me where you're from. Because you need to hear how my own son pulled me outside to lecture me like I was his problem, not his mother. I tried again. Kevin. I was late because... He stepped closer, cutting me off. Because what? You stopped to gossip with neighbors? You lost track of time watching TV? God. Mom, do you ever think about how your actions affect me? My jaw clenched. I think about you more than you'll ever know. Then prove it. He snapped. Stay quiet inside. Don't make this worse. You smile. Not. And let me do the talking. Understood? I stared at him, heat rising in my chest. You dragged me out here to humiliate me before I even walked in. He straightened his tie, ignoring me. Better I do it now than have you embarrass me in front of everyone. Just do not mention being late. Do not say anything unless spoken to. And please, for once, try not to make me look like a fool. I wanted to scream at him. I wanted to tell him exactly why I was late. Why I came in with scuffed shoes and a scrape on my arm. But he wasn't listening. He was too busy checking his reflection in the glass, making sure his image was intact. The party noise swelled behind the doors, laughter, clinking glasses, the faint hum of music. Kevin fixed his cuffs and muttered, All right, let's go back in. And remember, keep it together. I stood frozen, my pulse still racing from everything that happened on the street just 30 minutes earlier. Kevin didn't know. He didn't ask. He didn't care. He just pulled the door open, waiting for me to follow. While I stood there holding the secret of why I was late and whether I'd tell him at all. The moment Kevin pulled the doors open, the noise hit me, music, clinking glasses, bursts of laughter. The house smelled of roasted lamb and expensive wine. I barely took 2 steps inside before Kevin's hand pressed against my back, steering me toward the crowd. Smile. He whispered through his teeth. I forced one, stiff and hollow. The living room was filled with suits, sequins, and champagne. His colleagues turned, some nodding politely, some scanning me from head to toe. Kevin raised his glass, his voice bright and fake. This is my mother, Margaret Carter. Murmurs of greeting rippled, but no one moved closer. Kevin chuckled like he could smooth the distance. She finally made it. Traffic. You know how it is. I opened my mouth, but Kevin's hand tightened at my elbow. His nails dug in. Don't, he whispered. The boss's wife approached, elegant in a navy dress. So glad you could join us, Margaret. I smiled faintly. Thank you. And thank you for inviting me. Kevin cut across me. Too loud. She's thrilled to be here. Aren't you, Mom? I swallowed. Yes. The wife's eyes lingered on me, then flicked to Kevin. Something unreadable passed in her gaze before she nodded and moved on. Kevin exhaled sharply, leaning down to hiss in my ear. Better. Just stay in line. I stepped back. Kevin. I need to. Not now, he snapped, still smiling at a coworker across the room. I stood awkwardly near the edge of the group while Kevin drifted from circle to circle, laughing too loud, clapping backs, pretending nothing was wrong. When people glanced at me, it wasn't curiosity, it was pity, like I was the accessory he regretted bringing. Madison floated by with a flute of champagne, her smile tight. Margaret, lovely dress. I glanced at the scuff on my sleeve. It's not. Kevin swooped in. She doesn't drink. Madison, she'll have water. Right? Mom? I bit my tongue. Right. Madison arched a brow but didn't argue. She drifted off. Kevin leaned in again. Stop drawing attention to yourself. Turn. Whispering fiercely. You don't even know why I was late. His jaw tightened. And I don't care. What matters is how it looks. The words stung more than the scrape on my arm. A coworker of his clapped Kevin on the back. Great party. Your mom seems sweet. Kevin laughed quickly. She tries. The man smiled politely, then wandered away. I clenched my fists at my sides. She tries? I hissed under my breath. Kevin pretended not to hear. The music swelled again. Someone popped a bottle. Champagne sprang. Laughter echoed. Kevin raised his glass, soaking in the attention. I stood at the edge, unseen, unheard, my pulse pounding from the memory of the little boy I'd pulled out of the street less than an hour ago. But Kevin didn't ask. Not once. He just leaned over, hissed in my ear again. Keep smiling. As another guest turned our way and my lips pressed into a line I couldn't hold much longer. Kevin clinked glasses with two men in tailored suits, his laughter echoing across the room. I stood half a step behind him, not because I wanted to, but because every time I tried to drift away, his hand clamped my arm and pulled me back. Stay close, he muttered once, through gritted teeth. If someone asks you a question, smile. Keep it short. I nodded, though my chest burned. Another colleague leaned in, raising his glass. Kevin, the numbers you pulled this quarter? Impressive. Kevin grinned wide. Thank you, sir. Couldn't have done it without my team. His hand flicked toward me like I was part of the wallpaper. And of course, my mom's always been supportive. The man gave me a polite nod before turning back to Kevin. Your future's bright here. Kevin's smile stretched further. That's the plan. The words twisted in my chest. I tried to breathe, to look anywhere but at my son's back. The chandelier lights shimmered against the glassware. Plates clinked as waiters weaved through the crowd. It was supposed to feel glamorous, but to me it felt suffocating. Like every corner of the room was watching, waiting for me to misstep. Finally, I slipped away toward the drink table. My throat was dry. I poured water into a glass and lifted it, hoping the cool sip might calm me. Kevin appeared instantly, voice sharp under the music. What did I say? I set the glass down too quickly. I was thirsty. You don't move unless I'm with you, he hissed. I turned on him, my voice low but steady. You're treating me like a burden. He leaned in closer. Ice cold. You made yourself one. Before I could answer, the room shifted. A ripple of whispers spread. Heads turned toward the staircase where a woman in a silk gown was rushing down, her heels clattering too loudly for a party this elegant. It was Kevin's boss's wife. Her hair, normally immaculate, was coming loose from its pins. Her eyes darted wildly around the room. Has anyone seen Matthew? She demanded, her voice slicing through the chatter. The music faltered, then cut out entirely. Waiters froze. Guests exchanged confused glances. Kevin's boss followed a moment later, his face pale. He was just in the backyard. He's not there anymore. Kevin's wife, Madison, stepped forward. How old is he? The woman said quickly, wringing her hands. He was playing by the gate. I turned for 1 second and her voice cracked. The air grew taut. Guests murmured, pulling out phones. Someone muttered, check the street. Kevin shifted, straightening his tie, stepping forward to show he was calm. Collected. I'm sure he's around. Kids wander. He'll turn up. But the wife wasn't reassured. Her voice trembled. No. You don't understand. Matthew doesn't just wander. He's shy. He wouldn't go far. Something's wrong. My pulse hammered. Matthew. Brown hair. Red sneakers. Small hands trembling as I pulled him off the curb just an hour ago. I pressed my hand to the scrape on my arm. The skin stung under my touch. The wife turned in circles. Eyes wild. Please. Someone help us look. Kevin's boss barked. Check the street. Waiters scattered. Guests rushed toward the doors. Madison tugged Kevin's sleeve. Go help. Kevin plastered on a smile, though his jaw twitched. Of course. He glanced back at me once. His eyes sharp. Stay here. I opened my mouth. Kevin. Stay. He ordered. Then rushed off with the others. The wife's voice wavered through the chaos. He's wearing red sneakers. Please. Find him. Red sneakers. My heart thudded harder. I saw the image again. The boy darting into the street. The squeal of brakes. My body lunging without thought. Arms catching him just before the car barreled past. His tear-streaked face buried in my blouse. His tiny fists clinging like I was the only safe place in the world. And then the stranger's voice, ma'am. Are you all right? Should we call someone? I shaken my head, pushing the boy gently toward the sidewalk. Go home. Quickly. He nodded. What? And sprinted down the block. I never asked his name. I never thought I'd see him again. But here it was. The same boy. The boss's son. The wife clutched her husband's arm, tears streaking her face. What if he's hurt? I stepped forward, my voice trembling but clear. He's not. Every head turned. The wife's eyes locked on me. What do you mean? Kevin reappeared at the door, breathless. Mom, what are you doing? Don't. I lifted my arm, showing the scrape. I found him. Out on the street. I pulled him back before a car hit him. Gasps rippled through the room. The wife staggered closer, her hands shaking. You saw him? I nodded. I didn't know who he was. But I know those sneakers. Red. Double nodded. He was crying. The husband's voice boomed. Where? 3 blocks east. I said. Near Maple Avenue. Kevin's face drained of color. Mom. The wife grabbed my hands. You saved him? I swallowed. Yes. At that moment, the front doors burst open again. A young man carried Matthew in, red sneakers and all. The boy's cheeks were still wet, but his eyes lit up when they landed on me. He squirmed out of the man's arms and ran straight toward me. There, he cried, pointing. That's her. She saved me. The room exploded. Guests gasped, whispering, phone snapping pictures. Matthew barreled into my legs, wrapping his little arms tight around me. You pulled me back. You saved me. The wife's knees buckled. She dropped beside him, hugging him and looking up at me through tears. I don't know how to thank you. The husband strode forward, his hand gripping my shoulder firmly. You saved my son's life. Kevin's lips parted, but no sound came out. His face was frozen. Till all the color drained away. Daniel stepped out from the back of the crowd, his voice dry. Guess being late wasn't such a disgrace after all. The room erupted into applause. People crowding closer. Questions flying. Cameras flashing. Kevin tried to step between us, but Matthew clung to my skirt, his little voice piping up loud enough for everyone to hear. She's my hero. The wife nodded, still clutching him. Yes, she is. The boss's eyes turned to Kevin, cold and sharp. You should be proud of her. Kevin's mouth opened, but all he managed was a weak "Thorth," while the crowd kept pressing closer. The spotlight finally nowhere near him. All of it on me. The room was buzzing like a hive. Phones pointed in my direction. Voices overlapping. She saved him. That's incredible. I can't believe it. Matthew still clung to my waist, his little fingers twisting the fabric of my dress. His mother stroked his hair, whispering, "You're safe now. You're safe," before looking up at me again. "You have no idea what this means to us." Her husband, Kevin's boss, cleared his throat, his voice carrying across the entire hall. "Ladies and gentlemen, I think we can all agree this evening was meant to celebrate teamwork, loyalty, and family. Tonight, my son is alive because of one woman, Margaret Carter." Applause thundered. Guests rose from their seats, clapping, whistling. A waiter actually set down his tray just to join in. Kevin froze, his hand half raised as if he wanted to intervene, but the sound swallowed him. His smile flickered, but it didn't reach his eyes. The boss continued, pulling me gently forward. "Margaret, you didn't just save my boy. You reminded us all what real courage looks like." Someone shouted, "Speech." Another chimed in, "Yet, say something." I shook my head quickly. No, I didn't come here for." The wife touched my hand. "Please, just a few words." Kevin stepped closer, panicked. "Mom's shy. She doesn't like." The boss cut him off with a raised palm. "Let her speak." Silence fell. Dozens of eyes locked on me. Even the children by the dessert table stilled, their parents holding them close. I cleared my throat, my voice low at first. "I didn't think. I just saw him in the street and ran." I glanced down at Matthew, who nodded up at me. Any mother would have done the same. "No," the wife said firmly, tears on her cheeks. "Not any mother. You did." The applause started again, swelling louder, longer, until my ears rang. Kevin tugged at my sleeve, whispering sharply, "Sit down before you embarrass yourself more." I looked at him, then turned back to the crowd, louder this time. "I was late tonight because of that. Because saving a child mattered more than being on time. I didn't realize it was Matthew until just now. But I'd do it again. For anyone's child." Gasps rippled, followed by another round of clapping. People murmured approval. "She's right. That's real priority." Kevin's smile cracked. "She doesn't mean." The boss's voice boomed, cutting him off again. "She means exactly that. And we're grateful." He turned to me. "From this moment on, you're an honored guest in this home." I blinked. I don't know what to say. "Say nothing," the wife insisted, pulling me into a hug. "Just know you have our respect. Always." Across the room, Madison shifted uncomfortably, her glass trembling in her hand. She whispered to a colleague beside her, but the words didn't carry. Kevin's jaw tightened. He forced a laugh, clapping his hands too loudly. "Yet, honored guest. Absolutely. That's my mom. Always dramatic." His words landed flat. No one laughed with him. The boss glanced at him sharply. "Not dramatic. Heroic." Kevin's face drained. Guests swarmed closer, some shaking my hand, others pressing me with questions. "Did you see the car? Were you scared? How did you react so fast?" I answered as best I could, though my chest was still tight. "I didn't think. I just moved. I couldn't let him get hurt." The boss raised his glass high. "To Margaret Carter, the woman who saved my son." Everyone echoed. Glasses lifted. Crystal clinked in unison. Kevin hesitated, then lifted his own glass half-heartedly, his eyes flicking toward me with something darker than pride. I caught his look and held it, unflinching. Matthew tugged at my skirt again, his voice carrying, "She's my hero." The room erupted in laughter and cheers. The wife kissed his head, tears still shining. "Yet, sweetheart, she is." Kevin's grip tightened around his glass, his knuckles white. Madison leaned in, murmuring something urgent, but he shook her off. His eyes glued to me like I'd stolen something from him. The boss turned back to me. "Margaret, please, come sit at our table." Kevin stumbled forward. "That's not necessary." "She's," the wife snapped. "It's more than necessary." She pulled a chair out beside her own. "Sit with us." I hesitated, but the applause rose again. urging me on. My feet moved before my mind caught up, and I sat. Matthew climbed into the seat beside me, refusing to let go of my hand. Kevin stood there, awkward and alone, his face burning under the weight of 100 eyes. He finally lowered his glass and muttered, barely audible, "Unbelievable." But the boss's voice cut clear across the room once more. "Unbelievable. Yes, but in the best way." As all eyes turned from Kevin back to me again, waiting for what I might say next. The room didn't calm down. If anything, the applause and chatter swelled like a storm rolling through the hall. People leaned toward me, their questions overlapping, their eyes bright with curiosity and respect. "What street was it again? Did you get the license plate of the car? Were you hurt badly?" I kept my voice steady. "Maple Avenue." "No, I didn't get the plate. Just a scrape." Gasps and murmurs spread. One man shook his head. "You risked your life for a child who wasn't even yours. That takes guts." Another added, "And to think you still came here tonight. Most people would be in shock." The boss's wife squeezed my hand. "That's exactly who she is. Strong, steady, selfless." Kevin hovered behind us, trying to wedge his way into the circle. His laugh was forced, too high. "Well, you know, she's always been dramatic, always turning little things into little things." The wife's head snapped up, her voice sharp. "She saved my son." Kevin's smile faltered. Course, I didn't mean." But the damage was done. Guests exchanged glances. Someone muttered, "Ungrateful." Another whispered, "Imagine downplaying your own mother." Kevin's ears went red. He lifted his glass again, but no one clinked back this time. Madison tugged his sleeve. "Stop talking." He shook her off, his jaw tightening. Across the table, one of Kevin's colleagues leaned toward me. "Mrs. Carter, your son always speaks highly of himself here at work. But tonight, it's clear where the real character lies." Laughter rippled. Some guests nodded. Kevin's fists clenched at his sides. "She's not, you don't understand. She's..." The boss cut him off coldly. "We understand perfectly. A woman who acts without hesitation to save a life deserves respect. And a son who tries to silence her deserves none." The room went dead quiet at his words. Kevin's mouth opened, then shut. He looked around wildly, but no one came to his defense. Madison leaned closer to him, whispering urgently, "Smile. Just smile and stop fighting this." But Kevin couldn't. His face twisted. Meanwhile, Matthew climbed onto my lap, showing his scraped palm to the crowd. "She pulled me so fast the car missed me by this much." He stretched his tiny fingers apart. The guests gasped, horrified, then applauded again. Louder this time. Phones flashed. Someone whispered, "This story will be in tomorrow's paper." Kevin's hand shot out, yanking Matthew back. "All right, that's enough. Let's not exaggerate." Matthew pouted, wriggling free. "It's not exaggerating. She saved me." The wife's voice turned sharp. "Kevin, sit down. You're embarrassing yourself." Gasps broke out at her tone. Kevin's face blanched, his authority crumbling in front of everyone. The boss's eyes locked on him. "Do you realize, Carter, that the only reason anyone respects you tonight is because of her?" Kevin stammered, "Sir, that's not fair." "It's not fair?" His voice boomed. "It's reality. She has what you can't buy: decency, courage, integrity." The words hit Kevin like blows. He lowered his head, shoulders slumped, lips pressed tight. Guests turned their backs on him, focusing on me instead. One woman touched my arm. "Margaret, you must let us host you sometime. Your story is inspiring." Another leaned in. "Would you speak at our charity luncheon next week? Mothers would love to hear this." I hesitated. "Oh, I don't." Kevin snapped. "She's not available." The boss shot him a glare. "She'll decide that herself." I nodded slowly. "Yes, I'd be honored." The woman smiled. "Wonderful. I'll send details. Kevin's hand shook as he set down his untouched glass. Madison covered her face with her hands. The buzz around me didn't fade, it grew. My name floated from group to group. Margaret Carter. Hero. Saved his boy. Every time I caught Kevin's eye, I saw the panic there. The fury he couldn't hide. At one point, a waiter leaned down discreetly. Ma'am, there's a photographer outside asking for you. Kevin barked. Ignore them. The boss countered immediately. No. Let them in. Kevin spun. Sir. With respect. This isn't appropriate. The boss's eyes narrowed. With respect. This is my house. If you can't appreciate that your mother just became the most important guest here, then perhaps you should excuse yourself. The words landed like a stone. Kevin stared at him, speechless. The doors opened, and a photographer entered, camera flashing as soon as it spotted me with Matthew on my lap. Guest leaned in, smiling beside me, hands on my shoulders, lifting glasses in cheers. Kevin stood at the edge, isolated, no one turning to include him. Madison whispered harshly, Stop glaring. You're making it worse. Kevin muttered back. She's stealing everything. But his words drowned in the sound of more applause as the photographer called. One more photo. Margaret. Look this way. Turn. Matthew clutching my arm. His small voice cutting clear through the chaos. Don't let her leave. Mommy. She's part of our family now. And the wife answered without hesitation. Loud enough for the entire room. She always will be. While Kevin stood frozen, his face paling under the camera's bright flash. The photographer snapped another burst of pictures, the flash making Kevin flinch. He muttered, This is ridiculous, under his breath. But no one cared. All eyes were on me, on Matthew perched happily on my lap, swinging his little legs like he'd claimed me as his own. The boss raised his voice, commanding attention. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight was supposed to celebrate our achievements at work. But life reminded us of something greater, family, and the people who show up when it matters. Margaret Carter is not only my employee's mother. She is the woman who saved my child. Cheers and applause rolled again. People lifted glasses, clinking loudly. Kevin's shoulders stiffened. Sir, with all respect, this isn't about. The boss turned, his stare cutting him down. It is now. When a woman saves my son's life, she becomes part of my family. And if you don't see that, Kevin, then you need to open your eyes. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Madison's lips parted, and she whispered, Kevin, stop talking, tugging at his sleeve. But Kevin yanked away. She's exaggerating. That's all. It wasn't. Matthew shot up from my lap, shouting over him. She's not exaggerating. She grabbed me before the car hit me. The wife stood, her face sharp. Enough, Kevin. Don't you dare diminish what she did. Kevin's face flushed crimson. He stammered. I wasn't. The boss raised his glass again. To Margaret, who reminded us all what true courage looks like. Everyone echoed. Glasses raised high. Even the waiters joined in. Kevin stood frozen, his glass limp in his hand. No one clinked with him. The boss turned back to me, his tone softer now. Margaret, from this day forward, you will always have a seat at this table. My wife and I insist. You are welcome in this house anytime. The wife nodded firmly. Anytime. Holiday. Dinner. Event if you're not here. It won't feel right. I blinked, taken aback. I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything. The wife replied warmly. Just know you belong. The guests applauded again. Some leaned forward, shaking my hand. Others asking for photos. The energy swirled, lifting me higher while Kevin's face sank lower. He forced a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Mom will be thrilled to be here more often. But the boss's glare pinned him in place. Don't speak for her. Kevin's jaw clenched, his knuckles whitening around his glass. Madison whispered harshly, Kevin, you're digging a hole. Stop. But Kevin snapped. She's my mother. The wife's voice cut like a knife. No. Kevin. Tonight she's more than that. She's our savior. The room erupted again. Phones flashed. Cameras clicked. Applause thundered. Kevin flinched with every cheer, shrinking smaller and smaller. I felt Matthew's small hand slip into mine again. Don't leave. Okay. He whispered loudly enough for everyone nearby to hear. The wife smiled at him. She won't. She's part of us now. Kevin's head dropped into his hands, his shoulders shaking. The boss leaned closer to me, his voice firm. Margaret, people need to hear this story. Not just tonight. Would you allow us to share it publicly? Kevin's head shot up. What? No. That's private. The boss ignored him. Eyes on me. Would you? The crowd hushed, waiting. Dozens of eyes bore into me, anticipation hanging heavy. I opened my mouth, ready to answer, when Kevin suddenly shoved his glass onto the table, the liquid sloshing over the edge as he growled, "Enough. This has gone too far." While the entire room stared at him in stunned silence, the glass hit the table with a sharp crack, wine spilling across the white cloth. Gasps shot through the room. A few guests instinctively pulled back their plates. Kevin stood rigid, chest heaving, his eyes darting wildly. Enough. This isn't about her. This was supposed to be about my career, my future. And now you've turned it into a circus. The room froze. The boss's wife's eyes narrowed. A circus? My child nearly died tonight. Kevin swallowed hard. That's not what I meant. The boss's voice cut in. Steelheart. Then what did you mean? Kevin's lips parted and closed again. No words coming. Madison tugged at his sleeve. Kevin. Stop. Just stop talking. But he ripped free. No. They need to understand. She's not this saint you all think she is. She just got lucky. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Someone muttered. Ungrateful. Another hissed. How dare he? I rose slowly from my chair, my hand steady on the table. Lucky. I saw your boss's son in the street. I saw the car. I ran without thinking. That wasn't luck. Kevin. That was choice. Applause broke out again. People nodded. Some clapped louder than before. Kevin's face reddened deeper. No. You don't understand, she does this. She always finds a way to make it about herself. The boss slammed his fist on the table. She risked her life for my boy. And you stand here trying to spin it into self-promotion? Shame on you. Kevin's body jerked at the words. His mouth open, but no sound came. The wife's voice was colder still. If Matthew hadn't been pulled back, he'd be in the hospital. Or worse. And your mother would be bleeding in the street. How dare you reduce that? Kevin's hands shook. His voice breaking. This was supposed to be my night. My chance. And she took it from me. The silence that followed was brutal. Even the clinking glasses in the back stopped. Then Daniel's dry voice cut through. She didn't take anything. You threw it away the second you forgot who brought you here. Laughter broke out, harsh, sharp, unsympathetic. Kevin's colleagues shook their heads. One whispered loudly enough for others to hear. Imagine being jealous of your own mother. Kevin spun toward them. Desperate. No. You don't know her like I do. She's not. But his words tangled. Collapsing. Madison covered her face with her hand, whispering, Kevin, please sit down before you ruin us both. But he didn't sit. He kept pacing, eyes darting to the boss, to the guests, to me. I worked for years. For this. I've sacrificed everything. And she walks in late, tells a story, and suddenly she's the hero? It's not fair. The boss rose from his seat, towering. You want fairness. Kevin. Fairness is your mother not being the one celebrated tonight. Because she's the reason my son is alive. If I could give her my job this second, I would. Because she has what you clearly lack, decency. Cheers erupted. Glasses lifted. Someone clapped Kevin mockingly on the back. Guess the apple rolled far from the tree. Kevin's head dropped, sweat beading at his temple. Madison whispered again. Louder now. Sit down. Finally, Kevin collapsed into his chair, his head in his hands. The wife stood and circled the table until she reached me. She bent low, her voice gentle but firm. Margaret, you're not just welcome here. You're honored. From now on, if there's a seat of respect, it belongs to you. I felt Matthew slip his hand into mine again, his little voice chiming. She's my hero. The guests melted into applause once more, louder than any yet. Phones snapped photos, some even recording video. Kevin jerked his head up, his eyes blazing. Stop calling her that. She's not. But the boss cut him off, his words slicing. She's more than you'll ever deserve. Kevin's breath hitched, his face paling. The applause thundered. Someone shouted, speech again. Another cried, tell us more. Margaret. Dozens of faces turned toward me, waiting, eager, expectant. Kevin's trembling hands reached for his glass again, knocking it over a second time. Red wine spilling across the tablecloth in a widening pool as everyone leaned closer to hear what I would say next. The applause quieted just enough for my voice to cut through. I rose slowly, my hands resting on the back of the chair. Dozens of eyes fixed on me. The phone still lifted. Recording. Kevin stared too, his face twisted, his shirt damp with sweat. I took a breath. You all want to know why I was late tonight? Why I walked in with a scrape on my arm and dirt on my shoes? The room hushed instantly. Kevin shot up, his voice panicked. Mom, don't. I turned toward him. Be quiet. Kevin, you've talked enough. Gasps broke out. People leaned closer. I faced the crowd again. I was late because on my way here, I saw a boy dart into the street. I saw a car speeding toward him, and I ran. I didn't think about this dress. I didn't think about my hair. I didn't even think about being on time. I thought about that child's life. Matthew's small voice piped up, proud and loud. It was me. She saved me. His mother's eyes filled again. Yet, darling, it was you. I lifted my arm, showing the scrape still raw on my skin. That was the cost of pulling him out of the street. And if it had been worse, if that car had hit me, I would still have made the same choice. The room erupted. Applause. Shouts. Some guests stood, clapping harder. Kevin stumbled forward, frantic. You're twisting it. You're making it sound like you're some kind of saint. You don't know what that car would have done. You don't know. The boss's voice thundered. We know enough. We know you were here worrying about your image while she was out there saving my son. The wife nodded firmly. If Margaret hadn't been there, my boy would not be in this room. That is not exaggeration. That is fact. Kevin's mouth opened, but the crowd's voices drowned him out. One man shouted, hero. Another added, she's braver than all of us. A woman nearby murmured, imagine being ashamed of a mother like that. Kevin spun toward them, wild-eyed. No, you don't get it. She always undermines me. She tries to steal attention. Even now. Madison tugged at his arm, hissing. Stop, Kevin. You're embarrassing us. But Kevin yanked away, shouting louder. This was supposed to be about me, my promotion, my connections. And now she walks in and suddenly she's the star? She's the one everyone praises? She doesn't deserve it. The room went silent, stunned by his words. The boss stepped forward, his voice icy. Doesn't deserve it? She saved my child. What have you done tonight, Kevin, besides humiliate yourself and insult your own mother? Kevin's lips trembled. I worked for years, and in one night, the boss cut in. You showed us exactly who you are. The applause returned, louder than ever. People clapped over Kevin's protest, drowning him out completely. Matthew tugged my hand, lifting it high like a champion. She's my hero. The crowd echoed, some chanting softly, hero, hero. Kevin's face crumpled. Stop it. Stop calling her that. The boss's wife rounded on him. Why? Because it kills you that your mother is everything you're not? Kevin staggered back. Pale. Madison buried her face in her hands. I felt heat rise in my chest. The strength of years of silence breaking. My voice rang out clear. You called me an embarrassment when I walked through those doors. You told me to smile, to stay quiet, to be small. But tonight, Kevin, I won't. Because I know what I did. And so does everyone else. The crowd erupted once more. Cheers, clapping, even whistles. Guests leaned toward me, eyes shining, nodding in approval. Kevin's hand shook as he grabbed for his glass again, knocking over the empty stemware with a clatter. His breath came fast, uneven. Madison whispered sharply, "Sit down before you ruin everything." But Kevin didn't sit. He stood trembling, glaring at me with something between rage and desperation. "You'll regret this," he muttered, his voice cracking. And before I could answer, Matthew's little voice carried again, pure and unshaken. "No, she won't." As he wrapped his arms tighter around my waist and the cameras flashed in unison. The flashes still popped, bright bursts that left spots in my vision. Matthew's little arms clung around me, his small voice echoing in everyone's ears. Kevin stood there shaking, red-faced, his jaw working but no words coming. Madison lowered her hands from her face, her lipstick smudged from pressing too hard against her palms. Her eyes flicked around the room, guests whispering, nodding toward me, cameras aimed. Then her gaze landed on Kevin, wild-eyed and trembling. She whispered, not softly enough, "You've ruined us." Kevin jerked toward her. "What? You've ruined us?" she repeated, louder this time. "Look around. Kevin, everyone hates you. They pity me for marrying you. Do you have any idea how humiliating this is?" Gasps rippled through the guests. Kevin sputtered, his voice cracking. "You're supposed to be on my side." Madison straightened, her voice sharp. "On your side, while you tear your own mother apart in front of your boss, in front of all these people, while she's being praised as a hero and you're what? A jealous child?" Kevin's face twisted, his mouth opening and closing, no defense ready. The boss's wife stepped in, her voice cool. "She's right. Your behavior tonight hasn't only shamed you, it's shamed her too." Madison nodded quickly. "Exactly. I came here ready to stand proud beside you. Now, I wish I'd stayed home." Kevin's breath hitched. "Madison, don't." But she didn't stop. "You think this was your night?" "Kevin, could have been. People were smiling at you, ready to network, ready to take you seriously. And then your mother walked in, late but with a reason stronger than any excuse. And instead of standing beside her, you tried to bury her. You've destroyed yourself." Guests nodded, murmuring agreement. Kevin's fists clenched. "Stop. You don't know what you're talking about." Madison stepped closer, her eyes flashing. "I know exactly what I'm talking about. You're selfish. You always have been. You think everything revolves around you. And tonight, the whole room saw it." Kevin flinched, the words cutting deeper than the applause ever could. Someone muttered from the back. About time someone told him. Kevin's head whipped around, desperate to find the voice. "Shut up. All of you. Shut up." But no one did. The noise only swelled. Madison's voice cut sharp again. "You told me this night was important, that we had to be perfect. Well, look at us. Look at you. You're the one who destroyed it. Not her." She pointed directly at me. "She saved a child's life. Kevin, you can't even save yourself." Applause erupted, this time directed at Madison as much as me. Guests raised glasses again, some whispering, "She's right. He's finished." Kevin's face contorted, humiliation boiling over. "How dare you?" Madison held up a hand. Don't you dare raise your voice at me. Not tonight." The boss's eyes narrowed. "Kevin, you've embarrassed your wife. Your mother. And this company. If you want a future here, you'll sit down and stay silent. Kevin's body froze. Every muscle locked. Madison's breathing slowed, but her eyes stayed sharp. She moved closer to me, her voice gentler now. Margaret, I'm sorry. I should have defended you sooner. I met her gaze. Thank you. Kevin's head whipped between us, betrayal raw in his eyes. You too? You're all against me? Madison didn't look at him. She stayed by my side. The whispers grew again, laughter slipping through. One guest muttered, even his wife knows he's wrong. Another added, poor Margaret, having to raise that. Kevin slammed his fist onto the table again, the silverware rattling, the glasses trembling. Enough. But the sound was drowned by applause for Madison, for me, for anyone who wasn't him. He stood there, fists shaking, face pale, sweat dripping down his temple. And then, in the middle of the noise, his voice cracked, small and raw, barely audible. I'm the one you should be clapping for. As his glass slipped from his hand and shattered on the floor at his feet. The shards of glass scattered across the floor, crimson wine spreading like a wound on the white carpet. The room fell into a stunned hush, broken only by Matthew's small voice. Mommy, he's scary. The boss's wife scooped Matthew into her arms, glaring at Kevin. You're frightening the children. Kevin's face twitched. I didn't mean. The boss rose to his full height, his stare hard enough to cut through steel. You've done enough tonight. Sit down. Or leave. Kevin looked around wildly, searching for even one sympathetic face. There were none. Every guest's eyes were cold, judging, some openly disgusted. Madison stood stiff by my side, her arms crossed, her jaw set. He stammered. She turned you all against me. Laughter rippled from the back of the room. One man said loudly, No, Kevin, you did that all by yourself. Applause followed, sharp and final. The boss lifted his glass. Ladies and gentlemen, we're not here to indulge the tantrums of a grown man. We're here to celebrate the courage of Margaret Carter. Tonight, she is not only welcome, she is honored. Cheers erupted, louder than ever before. Glasses clinked, phones flashed, voices shouting. To Margaret. I raised my hand weakly, overwhelmed. Please, I don't. The wife touched my shoulder firmly. No. Accept it. You deserve every bit. Matthew squirmed in her arms, reaching toward me again. I want to sit with her. The wife set him down, and he rushed back to my lap, grinning proudly. She's the best. The crowd melted, their faces soft with admiration. Some leaned in to shake my hand, others calling out invitations. Join our charity board. Come speak at our event. Kevin staggered back a step, his face pale, his lips trembling. This was supposed to be my night. Madison's voice was ice. It was. And you destroyed it. He turned to her, his voice breaking. You're my wife. You should stand with me. She shook her head slowly. I stand with respect. Tonight, that belongs to her. She nodded at me. The boss stepped forward, placing a hand on my arm. Margaret, this company, this family, owe you more than words. From today, you'll always have a seat at this table. Not as a guest, as one of us. Gasps and applause again. People rose from their seats, some even moving aside to give me space at the center. Kevin's body sagged, his voice cracking. You can't just replace me with her. The boss's glare was merciless. Replace you? No. She's not replacing anyone. She's reminding us what real character looks like. And if you can't learn from that, then maybe you don't belong here at all. The words hit like a hammer. Kevin stumbled, grabbing the back of a chair to steady himself. Madison didn't reach to help. The wife leaned closer to me, her voice clear enough for everyone to hear. Margaret, this house is yours anytime you want it. Holidays, birthdays, dinners, you're part of us now. The guests cheered again, the noise almost deafening. Kevin shouted over them, Desperate. Stop. Stop praising her. She doesn't deserve it. The boss's voice thundered back. And you do? Kevin's mouth snapped shut. He looked around one last time, pleading. But no one met his gaze. Even Madison turned away. Silence settled for a heartbeat. Then Matthew tugged my sleeve, his little voice breaking it. Can she come over tomorrow too? The wife smiled. Or, darling. The crowd laughed warmly, the tension snapping like a string pulled too tight. Applause rolled again, this time lighter, joyful. Kevin dropped into his chair, defeated, staring blankly at the tablecloth stained with spilled wine. His hands trembled, his lips moving without sound. I sat taller, Matthew leaning against me, the spotlight no longer heavy but warm. The boss raised his glass one final time. To Margaret, the reason we celebrate tonight. Glasses lifted, clinking together, the sound filling the hall. Kevin jerked suddenly, his voice hoarse. Mom. But the cheers drowned him out as Matthew grinned up at me, saying, See, everyone knows you're the hero now. While Kevin's voice cracked into silence beneath the roar of applause.